Stop 9. Reformatory.
This was a cavalry barracks as opposed to the foot barrack, which was at the other end of the town. Built in the 1750s and lasted until about the early years of the 1800s. By this stage, the constabulary in Leinster were based here before their transfer to the Phoenix Park. It lasted from 1824 to 1842. The building was idle for a few years, and at that stage the government took over the complex and established the convict prison. And it was a convict prison from 1852 to 1862. The convict prison was to house people or inmates who were supposed to be transported overseas, but transportation at this stage was suspended. There was no more transportation, but the prisoners were held here. A lot of the prisoners who were in Phillipstown prison are buried at the far end of the old Church of Ireland graveyard. But following the closure of the convict prison in 1862, there was about 8 years when it was not Jews at all. And in 1870, it was opened as a reformatory to house young offenders. Prior to this, these young offenders would have been in jail, but the authorities decided to put them into special buildings known as reformatories. From day one, the Oblate Order operated and managed the reformatory. This continued up until 1934, when the reformatory was ceased in Daingean and all the inmates were transferred back to Glencree in County Wicklow. The reformatory then was converted by the Oblates into a seminary, and for the next 6 years or so, several of the Oblate Order studied for the priesthood and were ordained here. In 1940, the seminary was moved to Piltown in County Kilkenny, and the building became a reformatory again under sort of new rules and guidelines laid down by the Department of Education. This continued up until about 1973. But before that, the government, due to pressures, organised a judicial inquiry which was supervised by Justice Eileen Kennedy, and the government closed the reformatory in 1973. The front of the building, as we see it through the gate here, is the old barracks, and the square in front of it was used for military purposes, for drill and that.
Daingean was one of the institutions investigated by the Child Abuse Commission, which described widespread physical and sexual abuse of boys by other boys and staff there, and the place had a reputation for being strict and tough. It was deemed unsuitable as a place of detention for young boys and eventually closed in 1973. Since then, it has been used to house the National Museum's Folklife collection.